So I spoke with an individual just now actually who's currently doing life in prison. He is doing life in prison, and the reason why, well, I should say his background, he is known for abducting people and kidnapping people in South America. I spoke to him once before. I did a video about what he said. Well, I just spoke to him again. I'm going to tell you what he said about most likely the suspects dealing with. Welcome to Fugitive TV. I am your host, Ray Marcel, where we take a look at cases and we take a look at them from a different perspective because I was once a fugitive on the run from the law myself. I did it for 15 years. I lived in different countries under different names. Now I'm a motivational speaker. I own several companies. And what I do is I take a look at cases that might need a different look. So as cases with missing individuals like today with Nancy Guthrie, or sometimes even cases I feel that need a spotlight that other media sources are not given. Well, for you guys that's been following me, you know I've been all over the Nancy Guthrie case, been all over this from day one. There's a lot of details that I've said that from day one that has came out to where it looks like either other creators have said it or, other news outlets, which is fine. That's what happens with the territory, right? But I did a video a while ago, and the video I did was I interviewed somebody over the phone who is currently doing life behind bars right now. They used to work for a Mexican cartel organization. Now, there's not just one, there's several. They work for one of them, and I'm not going to tell you which one, but he is currently doing life in prison right now. So he's never getting out, all right? And he gave me a lot of good things the very first time I spoke to him. The first time I spoke to him, he told me that most of the time when these things happen, it's always more than one person because you need a second individual to either help you carry the individual out or look out for them, while somebody, or even a driver or anything like that, when you're dealing with a person. He said, unless the person was unalived at the location and you're just carrying a body out, that could be a different story, but it's still faster with two people. And sorry, I have to use the word unalived. YouTube doesn't like the M word, M-U-R-D-E-R. So for you guys that don't know, this is the reason why some YouTubers use that word. Hey, it's not our fault. It's what we have to, the filter we have to use. But he said if they were unalived at the location, then one person, can get away with it, but still you would need a second person. A lot of times that happens faster. Now, he also said that at the minimum when he did it, it was always two people. Then he also told me if it was over two people, everybody else was expandable. Everybody else was replaceable, meaning a third and a fourth person, a lot of times something would happen with them, meaning they would just use that person to do the job. After that job is done, they got rid of them some sort of way because you didn't want too many people running to tell or snitch. So the less people that go with you to do the crime, the less people it is that will snitch and tell on you. Now, we all know there's $1 million reward out right now. Now, I did ask him, I said, why do you think nobody has came forth about the $1 million reward? He said it could be a couple reasons. He said the first reason is maybe the people already have money. Maybe they don't need the $1 million. He said only desperate people, okay? Only desperate individuals will run to get that money. And he said, or it could be an individual that's not associated with what happened, but knows what happened, as in a friend, a relative, or something like that. You just got done doing a crime and then you go back and you kind of blab your mouth like, hey, this is what I did, or, and then that person's like, oh, I'm going to tell, Now he said that in a case like this, it sounds like the person, whoever did this or the individuals never went back and had a big mouth. They never went back and blabbed about it or told anything about it, or somebody might have came forward. So he said just by that alone, this means that whoever did this has done it before. He said he's pretty sure they have done it before. They might not have done it to this extent, But he says they have done something similar to this, to where they would have prior knowledge or, that type of thing. He said another reason too would be they had inside help. Okay. He said a lot of the times they would have inside help. If there was inside help involved, this would make the case for them a lot easier. This would make the crime a whole lot easier to get away with. And this could be a reason why nobody has came forward to tell on them for the $1 million reward. Now, remember how I told you about if there was more than 3 people or 2 people, a lot of times those people are replaceable. Now, this kind of aligns with a source that I have who's out in Arizona, I spoke with somebody, who I should say dabbles in the coyote field, okay? And I'm going to explain to you what I mean by that, just in case if you don't get that lingo. Now, he said that it could be a good case that if there was 3 people involved, 1, maybe 2 of them are no longer alive. He said they might not be alive themselves. He said if there was a higher anarchy that's behind this, which he thinks there is, he strongly thinks that somebody sent these individuals to Nancy's house. And that's what I think too. I don't think these individuals just went and did their own. I think somebody sent them there. He said that it's a strong possible belief that 1 or maybe 2 of them might not even be alive anymore. And that's why you don't have an accomplice coming out saying, hey, I helped him. I need the $1 million. Because they could be unalive. He said that since the Mexico border is right there, and the Mexico border is very easy to cross. I made a video telling you guys about how easy that border is to cross. You can cross into Mexico and that border half the time with no ID. Not only that, you can also go through one of the tunnels. There's a lot of tunnels around there where you can go through if you want to, and you don't need nothing to get through the tunnel. All you need is access through, you want to call it the coyote or narcotic network, okay? Usually you have to know somebody or pay somebody. Now back to the coyotes. Coyotes are people who help smuggle illegal immigrants across the border. They either will smuggle you in the back of a truck, in a car, and they have some really, really, I would say, innovative ways when it comes to smuggling you. It would be, let's say, a truck. You open the back of the truck, it looks like, you're hauling supplies for the grocery store, whatever it is. But really, it's people. Let's say you're coming through with the car and they want to search your car. You open the trunk. Maybe you might see a big speaker box stacked, like how people put speaker systems in their car and you hear the bass everywhere. So you see 2 speakers pointing at you. That could be just a lie. Inside that box could literally be 2 or 3 people. Okay. Then they could sneak you underground through the tunnels. That is another way this could be done. Most of these people have to pay a coyote in order to get over the border, cross the border. And then coyotes usually will pay off who they're working for. Coyotes aren't just out there doing it themselves. They're usually working for somebody, organization, and then that organization gets a cut, okay? And the organization kind of keeps a close watch on things. This is why you don't have too many coyotes snitching and telling, because they're scared their family is going to be put in danger. The worst thing these organizations do, especially the cartel, is a lot of times they don't do anything with you. What they'll do is they'll do something with your family member or close relative and make you suffer and watch. That is worse than something happening to you by itself. Now, about maybe 3 weeks ago, when I spoke to somebody who I would say was in that underground network, I don't know if it's real or not, but they told me that the word through their network was that they don't know how many was involved, but one of them was unalived, dumped in Mexico. That was through what one of them told me. Now, like I said, I don't know if it's true, but I figure I'll tell you guys that. So it lines up with what the person told me who's currently doing life in prison. He said 1 of them or 2 of them could be gone, and that's why we're not hearing nobody come forward to say this is who and this is why they did it. Now, if somebody did send these suspects there, like I think they did, they're not going to tell on themselves. Whoever sent them, they're not going to do it. It doesn't work that way. They're not going to do it. And whoever did this is a ruthless being, individual, meaning that they can do this again. Okay? They can do it again. Do you remember Chris Nanos? A couple weeks ago, one of his last interviews, he said that we had a feeling who it was from the start. Remember him saying that? And he was like, we have a feeling why. And he also said they can strike again. Remember him saying that? They can strike again. And it kind of blew by everybody's head. Nobody really paid attention to that. Well, it can happen again if this person who has done it is ruthless as I say they are. Now, I told you guys when the story first happened, I said whoever did this is ruthless. I said that. And I also said it could happen again. And I also said that the people who involved in this probably has done something like this before. It is very, 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 I should say, lucky for a person to commit a crime of this nature and get away scot clean. It is very, very hard, okay? Not the easiest thing to do. It is very hard for you to go abduct somebody in the middle of the night out of their house, especially an elderly woman who can't walk, who needs medical attention, for you to put them in a vehicle. They had to be in a vehicle, and for you to some sort of way not get caught by traffic cameras that we know of. In 2026, you're driving and not getting caught by traffic cameras. Either you are very good, you are very skilled, or you had some inside help with something, okay? Or you just was the luckiest individual that day and all the internet went out around the town, and you know, it's one of those. Now, the one thing he did tell me, he did say, most likely this is somebody, which we all know, I know, most likely this is somebody who was already close to the situation, whether it was the suspects or whether it was the person who sent the suspects. He said it might not have been the suspects, but the person who sent them was already close to the situation to know exactly where Nancy lives at, know exactly how to get out of there, to move around that terrain. He's familiar with that area and familiar with that terrain. So he says it most likely somebody is close to that situation. Now, like I said, none of us are new to that. We all know that already, right? I don't get to talk to him much because of he is in a 23-hour lockdown facility. Literally almost 24 hours, super max facility in Colorado, okay? So the guy doesn't really hardly ever get to get out of his cell and use the phone. And when he does use the phone, maybe he's talking to somebody else, all right? But I figured I wanted to relay that to you guys of what he literally just told me, okay? What do you guys feel about that? First of all, do you feel that he is on to something? Do you feel he's right? Like I said, this guy, if you want to call him a pro at doing this, this is what he does. And you know what I'm shocked at? I'm really shocked that law enforcement or FBI agents, this is what I always find funny with law enforcement, right? You have all these crimes that a lot of times go unsolved, okay? They go unsolved and they could be cold case for years. We've seen, right? Cold case going on for years. And a lot of times is they don't have enough evidence on the individual to arrest them, for one. They don't have nobody coming forth to snitch or tell, because how does law enforcement catch an individual? Think about this for a second. How do they usually catch an individual? It's always a person telling, some sort of evidence that put the person there, as in their phone ping, video evidence, which could lead to a person telling, right? Law enforcement usually has some sort of help to solve the crime. If they can't get that help, it's hard for them to solve the crime. So I always kind of looked at some of these cases funny, as in the guy that spoke to on the phone, right? Law knows this guy is sitting in prison. They know he is. Why don't they go talk to him? Think about it. Who is better to catch somebody who has done this than to go get somebody who's a pro at doing this, and maybe he can see the mistakes they made and give them a clue at doing something? It makes sense. This is why on my channel, I'm able to solve some of these cases, if you guys have been following me, before they've been solved. I'll say, I think this person did it, and this is why they done it, and this is such and such. And then next thing you know, a couple weeks later, that person's arrested, and this is why they did it. And it's happened more than once, especially when it comes to cases of trying to catch fugitives. I was a fugitive. I know what it takes to run. I know what it takes to be on the run for 15 years. Think about that. I've crossed borders under fake names and aliases, living in different countries. For 15 years, I did this. I even opened up businesses while I was on the run. I have done a lot, okay, while I was on the run. Now, while I was on the run, I would say I wasn't out, committing crimes, right? I wasn't doing any of that stuff, but I literally went to school. I graduated, opened a bit, all kind of stuff while I was on the run, okay? Because my mistake when I was younger, in my early 20s, I committed a bonehead move and did some white collar crime, okay? And some other things happened, and I ended up going on the run, which is actually, everything's in the book, Rare Redemption. I know you guys are waiting for this. I am waiting for all this to be done too. It's already written. I'm just waiting for it to be edited. Hopefully these guys hurry up. I can't wait myself. But everything is in this book, Rare Redemption, my whole life story. So I have nothing to hide. I tell everything. I own up to what I've done. And at the same time, since I own up to it, I want to help the next individual that needs help to either solve something or, hey, maybe you can do it too, And I found out that, hey, I'm good at what I'm doing here. Maybe this is a calling for me, but I'm good at finding missing individuals. I'm good at finding fugitives. Is because I was once a fugitive, and to some people I went missing. So I know what it takes. So you would think sometimes that people would let go of the ego, if you want to call it. Because a lot of us have egos, right? We can do this, but sometimes you got to let go of the ego, and sometimes you got to ask for help. And I think sometimes, like in situations like this, law enforcement might need that help. We see movies all the time about them getting some ex-criminal, hiring them on a team. Think about the movie Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio. When I went to court and turned the judge actually referenced that movie while I was in court. You remind me of the movie Catch Me If You Can. So think about Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio. That guy was on the run, and while he was on the run, he became an airline pilot. He went in a hospital, performed some major surgery. He did all kind of things. And government ended up hiring him after he was released from prison. They hired him, okay? So he can give them an insight of what he did, which breached their security. When I turned myself in, I was interrogated for 5 days straight, pretty much. It was like 4 days and some hours, but 5 days straight, I was interrogated by all kind of agents from everywhere because they wanted to know how I breached certain security measures. They wanted to know all that. I was working at an airport and figured out how to pass the security there. They wanted to know everything of how I did certain things. And I wasn't, like I told you, I wasn't out there committing crimes. So I didn't mind telling them, hey, I did some of this and this is what I didn't mind doing that. Not at all, because in my heart, it was never for me. I would say I grew up as a good person, a good kid. I did. I never got into trouble whatsoever. And then when I turned 22, I did some idiot stuff, made some dumb decisions because I got into debt. And now you have me here today. But Some people have a skill when it comes to doing these things, and some people with this skill can help solve a crime, can help bring justice, can help individuals and family members see the light of day. So I wonder why sometimes they don't look at this route or this avenue. Hey, maybe one day they will. Maybe my phone might ring one day. Who knows? But I want to bring you guys this and let me know what you think about everything I just said, all right? And also comment below what city and state you are calling from, or I should say watching from, or country you're watching from. You guys know I try to interact with everybody who leaves a comment, and my channel's been growing big. I'm almost at, I think, what am I at now? Almost at 25,000 subscribers. I've did this in the last 10 months. Thank you guys. I'm one of the fastest growing channels in this sector of YouTube, true crime, probably because I give it to you raw how it is and I show you a different perspective on things. But thank you so much. And please take care of one another, all right? Look out for your surroundings and look at your surroundings. Until next time, I'm out.